Everybody wants to find the perfect match for their financial needs. Secured savings, stress-free access to affordable loans, instant mobile money transfers to MTN and Orange Cameroon, and even a share in the profits as a member owner. For over 7 years, RENCAM Credit Union has been the perfect match for Cameroonians living in the UK and other nationals with interest in the Cameroonian heritage. Visit rencam.co.uk. Join RENCAM Credit Union today, achieving success together. Hello. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Goretti Show. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for joining, especially those who are joining from YouTube. I appreciate you. If you can, share the link on your Facebook page. It will go a long way to invite people to it, because that's the same thing I'm doing now. But yeah, but thank you guys so much. And if anybody knows how I can share the live stream to Facebook, please let me know right away. Okay, but thank you guys so much. So who's watching? Let me go into the comment section. Hi Nora, good evening. Hi For Real, thank you guys. Okay, this is exciting. So people are here, that's great. So if anybody knows, let me know in the comments before we begin. But thank you guys for watching. I'm really excited for another show today, because there's a lot that we are all going to learn from this topic we're talking about tonight, decision making. And I'm really happy with the quality of the guests that we have tonight to talk about something like this, the art and science of making choices. We have Dr. Glennise Ayuk, who is joining us from Boya. She's joining us from Boya, and she will be joining us soon. So welcome to the show, and I'm really just going to start. If it's the same thing, if you're joining us from Facebook, obviously I can see your comments, so just leave your comments in the comment section and we'll do what we do. It's a very interactive show. If you're new to our show, we chat, we ask questions. We're here to learn through our shared experiences. So if you've got any questions, any comments, any suggestions on what we're talking about, if you know the topic, just leave it in the comment section, and I'll try as much as possible to bring it to the stream, so that we can all learn from whatever you have to say. So without further ado, hello. Hi, Glenn.
Hey, hello.
How are you? Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. And I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good. How's your day been?
Great. Tiring. Tiring.
I can only imagine.
But it's good.
So, we're here, so we have to we give thanks either way. So you told me that, so Glennise is Dr. Glennise Ayuk, and she's joining us from Boya. And you were telling me earlier that there are no lights in Boya, Glenn.
I'm telling you, Mama.
Is that a norm? Is that the norm now? Like, do they take the lights very regularly?
Well, it's a rainy season, and then when it's raining like it did today, it has been raining cats and dogs the whole day. So that's probably why. I mean, these days rain is connected to light. So
I know, right? And I miss those days of that Boya rain. You know, when it's raining, if any of you has lived in Boya, you know, when it's raining on the roof. Oh my gosh, I miss those days. That's the best thing about the rainy season. But so, Glenn, thank you again. Thank you so much for joining us. And we're going to talk. You know, Glennise is an MD, like I said. She's Dr. Glennise. She's a very young MD, but let her age not fool you, because this girl is smart as it gets, as smart as it gets. Right, Glenn? How does it feel? Because in my time, right, when I was growing up in Cameroon, doctors were past among. It's like it was very rare to see a young girl like you in her early, in her 20s. Let me not give you your age. In her 20s, who's already educated. So how is it? Is that the norm? Is that the norm now?
Yeah, these days it is. School entering age has reduced. So many people begin school 5 years these days, and if you add that secondary school, university, yeah, most graduates from the university who are MDs are in their 20s. Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine? Wow, that's anyway.
Yeah, and it's cool. I think patients like that. I think patients like that.
Because they can relate to you guys, right?
Yeah, especially young patients. Yes.
That's good. And then it fits those things that we used to see in movies. When we used to watch movies, doctors were always like really young and cute. Like
That kind
Grace.
of thing. Yes, like Grey's Anatomy, exactly.
So people are getting their chance to see young and cute doctors. But I'm really proud of you guys because I have a few family members and friends who are doctors, and they're also young, and it's just like times have really changed, man. But anyway,
Right.
let's get into it again. You suggested this topic of conversation, the art and science of choices. The one of the brilliant things of this show is that I get to learn a lot. I never really thought about this, so I had to go and read about the psychology of choice, and I learned so much in that process that I am so happy to share it with you. So the art and so just break it down, introduce it to us. What's the art and science of choice?
Right. What brought my attention to us talking about choices? I think it's one of those really common things that we tend to take for granted. So to make a decision or to make a choice is both scientific and artistic, in the sense that on the one hand, it's something patterned. You think objectively, what are the stakes, what you analyze, what is the outcome, and how likely with the outcome. That's science is patterns and processes and objectivity and things like that. But on the other hand, because we're humans, your emotions tend to get in the way. There's other people's emotions sometimes having to get in the way and implied. So at the end of the day, it's just like we need to use both objectivity and some form of subjectivity to make choices. And at the end of the day, choices that are beneficial at the end of the day. And because choices are so common, almost so common, we tend to take it for granted. And then we've lost touch. What's the science behind this decision I'm making? What's the art behind it? That's why I feel like it'd be a great conversation to have.
You're talking about what's the art, what's the science. Choice has just always been choice. Choice is not something that you think about when you make it, right? You make a decision. So I
Right?
didn't. Yeah.
So
So
it
there's a
seems.
clicking sound. Are you touching anything?
I can hear the sound, but I'm not sure
Yeah.
where it's coming from.
So don't move or don't try and touch it because there's that static sound.
Right.
It's gone
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, you were asking something.
Yeah, I was saying that choice is not something that if I want to make a choice, right? I don't even think about it. So like it just because choices are often made unless they are really complex or it's a really big decision to make. It's not something that you think about. You just quickly make the decision or you just make the choice. So how like I just was wondering why is there a whole science on and an art to it? Like what exactly is choice in the definition or in the scientific or artistic definition? What is choice?
Right. So I'll answer that just right after I ask my own question. So I understand where the audience belong. So how many people can you remember can you name 20 choices that you made today? And this is me asking the audience. Can you name 20 choices that you made today? Let's see if I give you 1 minute. Can you name that easily? 20 choices that you made.
Can I ask myself, can I name 20 choices that I made today? I don't think I can.
Right.
I don't think I can name 20.
Right.
Maybe two or three, but not 20. No. Can anybody who is watching, can you think about 20 choices that you've made today? 20. Can you think of 20 choices you've made today? Anybody? I can't. I can Nah, I've got three.
Okay. Well, at least you can remember something. But I was trying to just cite what side of the friends were on, right? So, but let me make it simpler. Can you think of three choices towards personal development that you've made since the start of the year? That's a bit more specific. Three personal development choices that you've made since the start of the year.
Definitely I can. I
Right.
can.
Right. Okay.
I can think of three personal development choices that I've made through there because they were major choices, they were big choices for me.
Right. So I was asking that because the thing about choices is they become so common that we take it for granted, and then we neglect it. So there are the regular I have to wake up from bed today. I have to eat breakfast. Am I taking a cab or am I driving to work? When am I eating lunch? Who do I talk to? Let me call this person. Like those are decisions. So at the end of the day, we realize that we could make averagely 100 decisions a day, and that is really small. So now what is a choice and what is a decision? It's simply a selection. That is it. But I would like us to remember it as a conscious selection. So if we want to take the decision to get out of bed in the morning, you probably did not think of it too much, right? You just woke up, you stretched, and even if it was cold, you're like, I need to go. So like in the space of 1 minute, you had thought of, do I stay in bed or do I wake up? And if I stay in bed, I'll not go to work. And if I don't go to work, I could get fired. If I don't go to work, if I don't wake up, the children don't have breakfast. That was probably decided in like a minute, and then you were like, I have to wait. I go out of bed. Yeah. So that's a whole scientific process. But because you've done it so often, because you have prioritized your life, work is important, kids are important, or because those priorities are there, you just make that decision in a snap. But here's the thing, with major decisions, right, we don't do that. Surprisingly, when a major decision is in front of you, you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling powerless. That system, that pattern of, I have priorities, I have to go to work, I have to make the kids breakfast, I want this outcome for myself, so I have to do this. That pattern kind of disappears when it's time for major choices, and then people start feeling powerless. It happens often. So the art behind it is, how do I use my priorities? How do I use my belief system? How do I use my goals? How do I use my desires to make those major decisions, such that it's as easy as deciding to get off of bed in the morning? Because there's a process. You know the options. I'm staying in bed or I'm waking up. You know those options. You analyze it. If I stay in bed, this happens. If I wake up, this happens. That's analysis. And then you're making the choice. So I'm deciding to wake up. And the outcome of waking up is when I wake up, I go to work. Do I marry this person? Do I move to this place? Do I change careers? Yeah, we could apply that exact same thing. And that's really what is the science. That same process, using that same process every time, every day, even when it's overwhelming, even when it's emotional, but being able to apply that process over and over again. I think you're muted. I cannot hear you.
Yeah, I'm muted.
Right.
So I learned about choice theory. And choice theory is just the study of how decisions get made. And choice theory says that every choice that we make is made to satisfy five basic needs. I had a talk about that. So even the most simplest choices, so even the most simplest choices that we make is made to satisfy our five basic needs, which is survival, love and belonging, power, freedom, and fun. Those five choices. And I'm going to throw it to the audience. When you make basic decisions every day, like, am I driving to work today? Am I taking the tube? Am I taking the bus? Or what are the children having for breakfast? Do you ever, do you, do any of these five choices come into your mind? Sorry, do any of these five needs come to mind? Survival, love and belonging, power, freedom, and fun? And if they don't, what's your decision making process like on basic things? I think I'm curious to know that, because I think if we identify that, then we'll begin to be more conscious of it, right, Doc? Could you hear me? Sorry, I'm playing with this thing. Can you hear me now? Glennise, can you hear me? Hello.
Yep.
Okay, you can hear me. You're frozen. So let me wait for you to come back fully. You're frozen. So Glennise, if you can hear me, let me know, because you are. Okay, you're back.
To me, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I've understood about
Oh, okay.
yes,
We can't hear
hello.
you. It's breaking. It's breaking so badly. So while I give it time, those who are joining us, a few more people have joined us. Welcome to another episode of the show. But Glennis is joining us from Boya, so the internet connection, you know how it gets. But please just be patient, because I think that, hi, Auntie Jackie. Oh, this is nice. On YouTube, I can actually see those who have joined. So hi, Elmina. Hi, Fua. Hi, Atem. Jackie, Montio, Andia, Brigitte, Steve, Gwendy Media. Thank you guys so much for joining. This is great. This one is much better. On Facebook, I can't see those who are joining. But Brigitte, you say what? You say your decisions are conscious selections. Hmm. Your decisions are conscious selections. Even the basic decisions like breakfast and things like that, are they very conscious selections? Brigitte, I want to hear more. Oh, okay. While I wait for Glennis to come back, um, so I learned some stuff myself, like I said, on the choice theory. And like I said earlier, so every decision that we make, right, we have five basic human needs that we're trying to satisfy. So we're trying to satisfy our survival mode, our love and belonging, power, our freedom, and our fun. So of these five basic needs that we try to satisfy with every decision, there is always one that has maximum interest. So one of them's interest is always greater than the other, and so we focus on that to make the decisions that we make. If we are conscious, if we take some time to actually pay attention to our thought process, in that time we will realize that that's what we are doing. Does anybody do that? Hey, Glenn is back. We've been chatting for
It's
since
connected
7 o'clock.
now.
Always like that.
I know.
Yeah. But let's crack on. Let's crack on. So I was asking you about the five basic needs that we satisfy when we're
Interest.
making choices. Yeah. Is it something that you do for yourself?
Yes, often. Really, this is something that everybody does, but most times we're not even conscious that that is what we're doing. The thing, what actually makes choice or decision making a complex process is because this interests begin to begin to conflict. So I want love and social belonging, but at the same time I want power, but at the same time maybe I want to suit my physical needs. And then because these things clash, maybe because making decision A would give me power but not the social belonging, and then that's why the process becomes complex. And that's why there is a need to apply other parameters to that decision making process. Because really, the whole idea about making choices and making them consciously, first of all, is so that we're able to live with the outcome. So we're making a choice because we want, let's say you want to decide whether to live in Cameroon or to live in the UK, for example. The outcome of that, you're thinking, where will I be more comfortable? But then, okay, you want to be close to your family, and they're in Cameroon, and then now you have a conflict because you're confused between your physical well-being and the social belonging. So I think that at the end of the day, we want to make choices that, one, we don't regret, two, choices that we can live with, choices whose consequences we can live with. So if the basic interests conflict, then we need to apply other parameters to make that decision, so that at the end of the day we're still able to live with those choices. And those are actually the parameters that I'm hoping that we'll have those conversations around, because I'm really interested, in hearing how you apply those parameters throughout.
Okay, I'm very excited to share. But I
uh,
Brigitte says yes, I consciously take decisions so that I will be able to accept my mistakes without being too hard on myself or blaming others. And Steve says that decisions at times are dictated by adrenaline rush.
right. Right, you know what, I think that by the time we're done with those parameters, what Steve is saying is right, really. Because if you're not conscious about the fact that in the space of taking this decision, or this kind of decision is the kind of one that triggers adrenaline or triggers cortisol, then you take it without even realizing that it's adrenaline taking the decision for you, right? So as a human being, you know your baseline. Okay, you're triggered when people disrespect you, you're irritable when you're broke, you're irritable when you're tired. If you have to take a decision at that moment, then you can be sure that the influences of that decision are going to be stress hormones, are going to be noradrenaline, they're going to be all those other things that are out of your regular baseline. And that is why, again, there needs to be a pattern, a systemic way that you take process, like I move from here to here, I move from here to here, so that even if you're angry or sad, you're happy, you're able to take sane decisions. You kind of have a system of decision making that works for you, yeah. So we avoid the adrenalines and stuff like that. So if I could talk about that, let's use an example of you're married, and you have to decide between you and your partner where your child is going to, the secondary school. The very first thing before you approach making that decision should be, what is my status of this decision? Why is it important? Your status is, will you have the final say in this decision, or will you not have the final say? So, for example, if you had to decide whether or not your child goes to school A or B, you have to be honest. It's a partnership, it's a marriage, but you have to analyze it and see who really has the final say. How do you know who has the final say? Is who has more knowledge, who has more money. Honestly, honestly, the person with the resources is almost always the person with the higher decision making power. Who has more influence? Yeah, the person who has bigger friends, who has a network. If you're the one who has friends who own schools, you probably be the one who makes that decision. So it's important to know what your status is in every decision. Let's use forgiveness. What do you think your status is? If somebody had done you wrong and you needed to forgive them, do you think that your status, that choice, do you have an active or a passive status to make the choice to forgive somebody? What would you think that forgiveness is?
So some of you are sending me text messages that the image is not showing on the YouTube channel. So just refresh the YouTube channel and it should be fine, because there are few people watching. Anybody watching, are you having any trouble with the images? Because I've received some text um, messages that people can't see the image. If you can't, just refresh the page and you should be all right. Thank you. So Glenn, I'm going to go. Let's talk about what are some what that was what you were talking about, right? The influence. What are some of the influencers of choice?
Say influencers are external and internal. So you have the family around you, your friends. What's the social context? what is common where you are, what's legal where you are, what's the environment, what's the season, is it rainy season, is it dry season, what's your financial status. All of these things really influence. Yes, what's your health status, in fact, how well are you. All of those things influence the decisions that we make. But from inside, it's really what's your assertion about yourself, what's the relationship that you have with yourself, how much do you love yourself, what's the state of your mental health. Because if you happen to be in a space where you're conflicting with yourself about your values, and you're not sure about, or you're prioritizing others over yourself in a detrimental way, then it's obvious that that will influence the choices that you make negatively. But besides all of these influencers, really the most important influencer is always yourself. And I feel like that's the goal of this conversation. The choice is always just to make you always have a choice to make. You really are the most important influencer. Even if it's not actively, because you need to get paid at work and your boss is the one who decides, okay, what you get paid. So that's not an active choice. You have to take it because it has been made for you. um Maybe a friend, a family member, a significant other, they disrespect you. That is their decision, all right? That choice has been made. They disrespect you. And even though these situations look like the choice has been made and I feel powerless, there's nothing I can do, you realize that your reaction is a choice. So even if you could not determine the outcome, your reaction to the outcome is a choice that you can make. So somebody disrespects you, you can decide to address them, you can decide to confront them, you can decide to walk away, you can decide to stay there and continue to bear the disrespect. These are active choices that you make. And if you do not even realize that this is a choice that you can make, what happens is you're sitting there frustrated. Look at what my boss is paying, or look at how this person is treating me, or look at how my life is. Others are feeling so confident. I don't know how to feel confident in myself and things like that. Others, their careers are intact and mine is just. But no, have you really sat to think, what choice have I made concerning this?
Or even what
And
choice do I have? Can I make a choice? Do I have a choice in this current thing that's happening to me, right?
you always do. That's the thing. But maybe not actively. And when you cannot make a choice actively, then you know that you have the choice to respond to the outcome. Because life is life. There's just some things that we cannot control. But those things that we cannot control, we have a choice to control how we react to those things. And that's a whole other level of choice that makes you realize that you always have a choice. You can determine your attitude to the outcome that you don't want. You can determine your effort. You can determine your action. Those are things that you can do. You can determine your emotions. And maybe that sounds a little weird, but we should remember that emotions they're chemically controlled as well. All right. So there's neurotransmitters in your body, there's hormones in your body, and these things literally control whether you're happy or sad or depressed or confident, things like that. So you could literally say, if somebody disrespected you and you felt angry, or your boss at work was exploiting you, and this was a decision that you had to make a decision on how to respond to that emotionally, you could decide, I would respond to this with optimism. I wouldn't let this break my spirit. And then you go ahead to do those activities that will keep you um optimized. Maybe you do exercise, you try to read, you try to talk to people. And those are decisions that you've been making throughout the day. Who to call, whether to exercise. But at the end of the day, you see that these are decisions that are related to the major one, which is a reaction to whatever is a major thing that is happening to you. So we always have a choice. You always have a choice.
How would you suggest that? What can we do to get ourselves consciously thinking about our choices? Because, like in the first question you asked, can I think of any 20 decisions I've made today? I couldn't think of any because obviously it's just it's natural, right? As human beings, you just make the choices and you get along them. But I guess that's why some of us are where we are, in the sense that we are not even consciously making the right choices for us. We kind of go with the flow, and so we find ourselves feeling overwhelmed, feeling stressed. How would you suggest that, how can we put our minds in a conscious decision, or train our subconscious mind in a way that with every decision we have to make, it is somehow conscious, even if it is unconscious?
The first thing I would say is have a value system. So let's start with goals. Have goals. So have broad goals. What do I want to do with my life? Okay, like that's very broad, but we can start from there. Have goals for your life, and then the next step is, okay, what do I want to do with my life career wise? And then I have goals, and then I have goals for myself as a human being. I have goals for the kind of service I want to do. In general, when we have goals, right, our decisions become conscious, a little bit more conscious, because if my goal were to serve, let's say orphans, I love serving orphans, I want to impact these people. If I had to wake up in the morning to go visit them someday, yeah, it would be a lot different from, I think that if I had to make the decision to wake up from bed, whether or not to wake up from bed that morning, I would think of those orphans. They would influence the decision. I would not even have to, it may not even be deliberate, but they will come there because they are a goal. If you had to make a personal development choice to read a book, for example, if you had a personal goal to be, I want to be more patient, I want to be more emotionally intelligent, if you had that goal, it's easy to wake up today and say, I'll read a book, or I'll read 2 pages a day. So in general, when you have somewhere that you're going, it's easy to be aware of the decisions that you make. So after goals, I'll say plans. When you have those goals, you have plans on how to get to those goals. Like you've broken the plans down on how do I get to my goal. And that's another way that you're able to make conscious choices, because you know that I want to get here, and this is what I have to do to get here. So when you wake up in the morning, you're not just going with the flow, because there's a direction, there's a vision, right? Yeah. What else would help consciousness? It will be a value system, right? Let's use what's very controversial, abortion, yes. So some people are pro and some people are anti-abortion. So if my value system was and is anti-abortion, if I had to make a decision, if I had to talk to somebody, if I had to, no, not consult a patient, no, that's very neutral. If I had to if whatever decision I have to make today around that had to do with my value systems will be conscious, because somewhere in there, inbred in me, there's a set of values that I cannot go against. So it will show forth in the conversations that I want to make. Yeah.
So
So
oh, sorry. So you're suggesting that in order to build a conscious, um, a consciousness around our decision making process, we need to actively think about our goals and really be, I'll use the word again, conscious about what our goals are for ourselves and what our value system is. Some of the, like, be definitive around the things that matter to us, is what you're saying.
yeah, because the thing is, when you have a plan, life follows through. When you don't have, life gives you one. So everything that has to be conscious, if there's no plan, you just go with the flow. People will make decisions for you that maybe you even had the capacity to make for yourself, and you're just there feeling helpless, and this is happening to me. Not realizing that you really do can analyze the situation and realize that you have the power to change the outcome.
I think what I'm reminded every time is that with every decision you have to make, no matter how minute, you have the power to control the outcome of that decision, even if you're not conscious of it. But I think something I've taken from all I've been researching since we decided to talk about this is that there is no reason to feel helpless about every situation, because you have the power to kind of to control the outcome. Be it, if you can't control it because that power is taken away from you, you can control how you react to it.
Exactly. Exactly. And this is a consciousness that once you have, you really transition from powerlessness to assertion, from powerlessness to responsibility for self. You begin to feel empowered that your life is in your hands. And it's not as theoretical. I know it could sound theoretical, but it's not as theoretical as it sounds, honestly. So you know that this outcome is possible, the outcome that you don't like, because you have objectively analyzed the situation and you realize that your status there is passive. You're not the one who has the final say. So because of that, you have already lowered your expectations on what that outcome should be. So when a negative outcome, let me not call it negative, when an outcome contrary to what you were expecting finally happens, you already have a plan on how to deal with that. And again, it's not theoretical. Let's take the example of, I want to take the example of a marriage, and I'm thinking how weighty that is to make the wrong, to make that kind of wrong choice. But let's use it, right? There's so many situations like 15-year-olds who are wedded, and that was a very passive choice that was made for them, even though that should be an active choice. And there are times when it's even adults, but because again you don't have the financial influence, it's your parents who are paying for the wedding, it's your parents and all of those kind of things, you realize that that choice is made for you. Fine, you could not control it to the best of your abilities. How do you deal with the outcome? You happen to be in a space where you would not have wanted, but how do you deal with it? You're thinking, how do I act? And it's important to really articulate. I would wake up in the morning, I would be kinder, I would speak kind words, I would restrain, I would not talk back if I'm angry. Like, to really state these things clearly, because this is an outcome that you were not expecting. Or no, this is an outcome that you don't like. You're just trying to mitigate. So it's important to clearly state what your actions are. Your husband chose the other school, not the one that you wanted. How do you react to that? Are you going to attack the life out of him? Are you going to try to have a conversation with him? It's important to articulate that. But besides your actions, it's important to think, what are my emotional reactions? So your reaction is not just action, it's emotional. Am I hurt? Am I crying? Am I depressed? Am I frustrated? Um, am I helpless? Right? So this is what you're feeling because you're a human being and you're reacting to something that did not work the way you wanted. But you can decide to feel otherwise because emotions are chemically controlled. Serotonin is what makes you happy. Oxytocin is what makes you happy, right? These are chemicals in the blood. So you know things that can be done, or you can research things that can be done that can literally control those emotions. That's why it seems like magic when some people are able to deal with gross situations and people are like they're pretending, or that's impossible, or it's not that. It's a whole process that people are very conscious about. Let me do this because this is the result. So many people do exercise for therapy, right?
Yeah.
For the oxytocin, because when the oxytocin is raises in your blood, you feel lighter. So many people bathe babies and cuddle babies for therapy, right? Yeah. So when you want to have to decide an emotional reaction, those are the things that you're thinking. Yes. How to
Yeah.
modify the emotion that probably will be anger or frustration, but you realize that you have it within your power to modify it, and so you go ahead and do it. So there's no helplessness. There's
So,
never helplessness.
so what about people like who suffer from anxiety attacks and things like that? What would you say to those kind of people? Because people who suffer from anxiety attacks always find themselves in that space of complete total helplessness. There's nothing they can do about that. What would you suggest to someone like that?
I would say, first of all, if it were not a medical diagnosis, right, I would not advise you to label yourself as, I have an anxiety disorder, I have a depressive disorder, I'm a psychopath. Just don't do the label, because you're already speaking things to life and impressioning something that you begin to manifest. So if you feel that, even when you decide to to modify or regulate your emotions is not possible, and there's this emotion that keeps going up, I'd advise you to talk to somebody, talk to a doctor, most likely, because this is a whole different situation. We're not with people who have anxiety disorders, medically diagnosed, they have like high dopamine. So again, it's chemical. I know that there's a lot of inputs, but this is chemical. So there's this high levels of dopamine in your blood, and that's why you're not able to regulate like other people. So you realize that if you get other care, complementary care, counseling, and things like that, and then you get a chemical control like a drug to regulate those levels of dopamine, then you're able to come to this level like other people who are able to regulate it. Those are people like in a whole different category, people who have mental health conditions. So it's a whole different category. I mean, they're
Yeah, I
not
know.
able to make these decisions as effectively, and it's really not a matter of passiveness or lack of awareness or lack of understanding or things like that. Yes, it's really just the disease, they're sick, and they need help like that on that one.
So what do you think about our I call it implicit bias? Like how much how much influence has our bias towards, or again, implicit bias, how much influence does that have towards our choices? And when it comes to things like bias, is it possible to change your opinion around? I'm sure it is, but again, in the form of following the conversation or choice theory, is it possible to change our bias towards something? And you know what, I'm smiling because even as I'm saying it loud, I'm sitting and thinking that I can't believe that these Oyibo people, right, have sat down and created a subject around choices, and people have PhDs in choice theory. Like, guys, you really need to go and do some research on this. It's a big thing, and people go around the world teaching stuff like this. Glenn, is fascinating to me.
Right.
Yeah,
And it's I think when I see things like this, I just go like, wow, no wonder. Because honestly, some people look they just look superhuman. So I'm a
mhm,
stoic. No, but let me answer the question. Implicit bias happens, it comes from our value systems. That's the truth.
mhm,
If you were raised a traditional Catholic and there's certain things that you were told you can never do, when you're making choices, you just fall in line with those
yeah,
belief systems. And that's why it's important to have a belief system that you have decided, right? It's not what you were taught, it's not what you have grown up as an adult, you have analyzed things, you are looking within, and you have said, this is what works for me. My
yeah,
values are based on this and this. So that even when you want to make decisions that are biased based on those belief systems, it's decisions that are in line with your true self, right? They are
yeah,
reflecting your authentic self. They are decisions whose consequences you can live with. Because if your belief system is around, I really believe in speaking my truth. Even when you speak the truth and there's chaos, you see that you're able to kind of have some kind of acceptance or
yeah,
some kind of peace with that chaos, because it is within your belief system to speak the truth no matter what. But
yeah,
if that's not even your belief system, and then you don't do it because you were just carried away by the flow or somebody influenced you, and then there's chaos, man, that's like a different thing, because this is not even what you like to do, and then you
mhm.
did it and then it just causes disaster. It's like it's a whole different thing. That's why belief systems are important. That's why. But I would like to share. So my beliefs, I think that in general, my belief systems are around Christianity and Stoicism. Stoicism is one of the best things that happened to me, hands down, hands down,
Okay. In what way?
hands down. Like that's one of the best things that have happened to me. Encountering Seneca and all of those Stoics, and seeing how they viewed
First of all,
life.
before you go for it, just for the benefit of the audience, what is stoicism?
Um, it's a way of life. Do I call it that? Or kind of philosophy that's based on an acceptance of what, let me summarize stoicism: serenity to accept the things that you cannot change, courage to change the things that you can, and knowledge to know the difference. That's the summary of stoicism. This proverb did not come from any of the fathers of stoicism, but that's the summary of what it is really. And it's a whole belief system, it's a whole way of life, with
Other
those
somebody else,
practices.
somebody can call that just faith, just having faith in God or His supreme power.
Just define it, really. Just
Okay, but
define
always
it.
define.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. Always define that belief system. So even when you're working on it subconsciously, it's like you're still in line with your true self. Yes, you have not gone out. Yeah.
I think that's something that another thing that I'll take away from this conversation today is really, do we really know? I think I'll ask the those of us who are watching, do you have a clear definition of what your belief system is? Do you have one? And if you do, just let me know in the comments, because I'm curious to see if within our community that's something that people are conscious about, because a lot of us really truly just go with the flow, right? But it's not often that you come across people who know
Have a
who
value
they
system.
are and have a true value system. And this thing of writing things down, I think that's a habit that we all should pick. I'm not there yet. I think, yeah, because you can have no idea of a belief system, but I think that it will become muddled in your mind if you don't write it down.
And that's very true, because writing helps you. Writing is a reminder. You open your book every day, every morning, and you see it, and you see that this is what you're committed to doing. You're committed to transparency. You're committed to speaking your truth. You're committed to speaking out when there is injustice. So if you have that kind of written reminder that you see every day, it's easy to live in that consciousness, because the exposure is there and it's constant. But to keep it there in your head is really just not the same thing, really. It's not the same thing. Muted. Muted. Please unmute.
I was waiting to read the comments. Does anybody have responded to if they had a belief, a clear or a clearly defined belief system? But nobody's responded yet. I'm curious to know, if you're watching, tell me, do you have a clear definition of what your belief system is, and is this something that you're truly conscious of at every step of your journey on this in this life? So you and I were talking earlier about um, intentionality of choice. What did you want to explain that for the benefit of the audience? The intentionality of choice.
So, um, so
Thank you,
this,
Lillian. So Lillian says, my belief system is deeply rooted in my Catholic faith. And it doesn't help that you're in Ireland, right? It's just, it's even more enforced. Yeah.
so in general, I would agree that there's minor choices and major choices, and this is really up to an individual to decide. Because I'll probably consider minor is could be major to somebody else, but there's minor choices and there's major choices. And intentionality, the goal really is to be so spontaneous about our minor choices that we leave the thinking and analysis and decisions to the major choices. Intentionality of choice is a consciousness, a present consciousness every time we have to make a decision on why are we making the decision, what is the outcome, and what will be our reaction to the outcome. If we're talking about waking up from bed in the morning, it's simple. And eating breakfast, it's simple. But if we were talking about, do I change career? Okay, the world is digitalizing, and it seems like in 2 years you no longer have a job. Do I go back to school, and change career paths? That's something major. It cannot be a decision that you made because your friend, Anu called and she was just like, hey, I'm doing a PhD. And then I was just like, man, I think I should also do that PhD. And then I just like, seriously? And we do that all the time. Believe me, it's not that uncommon. But with making a conscious decision, you are first of all aware of what your options are, and this is an objective analysis. Again, it's important to be truthful. Okay, again, what's my status? Am I the one making this choice, or am I in a position where it's going to be made for me? If it's going to be made for me, can I influence the person who will make it? Okay, that's how come somebody has a friend in some company and they're able to call and say, employ my daughter. You see, this daughter or this son cannot make the choice to be employed, but they can influence their father, who can influence the employer, who can employ them. So when you're conscious about making a choice, you're able to do that analysis. Can I make this choice myself, or can it be made for me? Now, why do I even want this choice made? Why am I even in this circle in the first place? Why do I want to go back to school? Why do I want to decide to start reading? Why do I want to lose weight? And it goes back to your values, because you think that if you lose weight, you probably feel more confident. You like how you looked when you were slimmer and things like that. So you make this plan with intentionality. You know why you're making this choice. I'm making the choice to wake up every day and jog because I want to lose weight, and losing weight is my goal, and I've already preset that goal. So it's just like it's falling into place because you've been intentional from the start. And now, what is the outcome? That's the next aspect of intentional choices. Um i could jog every morning for 6 months and I'll not lose that much weight. Okay, and I have to be ready to understand that it's possible. But if after 6 months of jogging, if I start this business, I'd gone through the whole process, I'd started a business, I'd quit my job and started a business, I'd gone through the whole process, I decided to get a divorce, I'd gone through the whole process, I decided to quit this relationship, I'm at a point where what's the outcome? With intentionality, because you have been very objective, if this was a choice that you could not make, you already know that this outcome may not favor you. So you're already planning, how do I react if it doesn't favor me? Exactly, yes. With intentionality, if you were an active choice, you realize that outcome may favor you because you had the last word.
Yeah.
And now if the outcome works, how do I keep it consistent? How I think that in general, choice consciousness is just asking yourself these questions: the why, the how, and planning the reactions. Reactions are so important. They are so important because
That's something
life just goes. Life
that
life can go anywhere.
yeah, that's something that I've only learned in the law of attraction. This book, like The Secret and stuff. That's when you're planning towards something, visualize it and live in the moment of it. So believe so feel the emotions of it, feel your reactions for it, smell the surroundings, like have a vivid picture in your mind of what that will be the outcome. That's something I've only learned through the books, the law of attraction books, The Secret, The Power, and all of them. Yeah. So, but I like that you're saying that now.
But here's what I'd like to add. These books always forget to say that it's important to think about um what could not go right. This is not pessimism per se. This is just you being realistic, especially when you've analyzed and you realize that this is not your decision to make. Okay, you don't decide how somebody gets to treat you. You cannot do that. You don't decide whether the rain falls today or not. You cannot make that decision. So even in our optimism and our plans, you're visualizing that, but you have an awareness that if things go contrary, I know how I'll react. I'll regulate myself emotionally, and my belief systems, my um with my, how do I put it, my personal development goals. I'm trying to be less angered, less triggered. So you're not being pessimistic, but you're thinking that this negative outcome could happen, but it's not discouraging you, it's not making you worried, it's not making you helpless or anything, because you're
Like
like,
Brigitte says,
mhm.
Brigitte says,
If it happens, I'll handle it. I'll handle
yeah,
it.
yeah,
I'll regulate the emotions, I'll regulate the outcomes, I'll regulate my actions, I'll regulate my emotions. But you're thinking, at least you have it in mind that this could happen.
yeah. I think that's what Brigitte means when she says, um, you should be realistic about it, and you have a plan B in all you do. Steve says that you should be specific. But then Steve, if you're being specific, you cannot really control the outcome of a situation. So if you're being specific, could you not be met with disappointment? If you're met with disappointment, then how do you react to disappointment, if you choose to be specific, Steve. But yeah, but I agree. I definitely agree with you, Dennis, that in these books that we read is well and good, especially for those of us who read books like that, who always tell you to think positive and think positive, think positive. I'm a strong believer in think realistic, be pragmatic about every situation in life, because as much as you want to think positive, you don't want to be blindsided. And it's what you're saying, Glennise. You have to be able to manage your expectations and manage your reactions. So yeah.
Really. And when Steve is talking about the specificity, I'm hoping that he's talking about the specificity of what you expect, what your plans are. You
Mm-hmm.
don't need to go ahead and say this could go wrong, this could go wrong, this could go wrong, this could go. That's not what you're
Yes,
specific about.
easy.
You have it at the back of your mind.
Yeah,
Things may go wrong, but you're
yeah.
confident. Why that is not breaking you down is because you have a confidence that you can react in a way that is not detrimental. So even if things don't go right, I have the emotional capacity, I have the consciousness to regulate the way I react to that. And that's really where the confidence is. I'm not thinking of every single scenario that could go wrong. I'm just
Yeah.
knowing that even if things go wrong,
Wow.
I
Yeah.
have I can regulate my reactions to that opposite outcome from what I expected.
Mm-hmm. So, Steve, I hope that's what you meant by being specific. And if it's not what you meant, if you don't mind, can you explain it to us again in the comments? Um, so, I mean, Glennise, if you had a take-home message for us tonight on this art and science of choice, what would that be?
The very first one would be you are never powerless. You always have a choice. Like this is one of those things where I'm not even afraid to say never. You always have a choice. And it's the way that a lot of things have been presented. You heard that somebody went through this and they broke down, and then it just looks like it's normal to break down when these things happen. Or, well, if you break down, everybody will be like, well, we understand. And then you think, oh, no, you always have a choice. That's the thing. If you don't have a choice on the outcome, then you have a choice on your reaction to that outcome. Okay, even if you don't have a choice on your actionable reaction to that outcome, you have a choice on your emotional reaction to that outcome. So you always have a choice on attitude. You always have a choice of effort, that yeah, you can put in, and the attitude or the disposition that you can have towards something. So you're never powerless. That would be the first take home message. The second one will be try to be conscious, especially about major decisions. Maybe not the I wake up in the morning at 8. No, that's a major decision, please. Maybe not the maybe not the I'll eat this for lunch. Okay, maybe unless you were on some kind of diet plan. Maybe not
Mhm.
simple things like that. But if something would significantly alter your life in 5 years or in 1 year from now, if a decision that is being made now will influence how you feel 1 year from now, and how you think and how you see yourself and how you feel about yourself, that's not the kind of decision that you should let people make for you. Because if you don't make it, life will make it for you. People will make it for you. Your friends will make it for you. Your mother will make it for you. Your father. The social belief system will make it for you if you don't make it. But if this is that kind of choice that will affect how you see yourself, how you feel, how your life will be 5 years from now, don't let somebody make it for you. Really take your time to go through that process, that decision making process of the how, the why, what's the outcome, how do I deal with it? If the business does not work, am I staying consistent? That's an action. Am I staying positive? That's an emotional reaction. Just try to be conscious, especially about those major decisions. And the third will be have a belief system, have a goal and have a belief system. Without those things, it's just going with the flow. Again,
Mm,
you don't have a plan, life will make one for you. Yeah, you
yeah,
don't set a goal, life will make one for you. So
yeah. I like the I like everything that you said. And the thing is, we all know everything that Glennis and we've all talked about tonight. But I think conversations like this are just to remind us that most importantly, if you don't have a plan, life will make a plan for you. And you may be religious and say, well, it's God's, when it happens, it's God's plan, it's God's plan. But really, do you just want to be like a, no, if I say that, religious people will say, yes, I can be like that because God controls the wind. So there is no wind here. But for those of us who understand this message, it's important that we are conscious about the decision making process in our everyday life. And I think something have that I that my take home from tonight is have a clearly defined belief system. Because sometimes you may think that you have like clearly defined belief systems, and you'll be surprised that when push comes to shove, you would make excuses. You would make excuses, and yeah. Yeah, I saw you agree with one.
No, I was just nodding to what you were saying.
Yeah.
It's really easy to think that you have a belief system until there's a subject that is brought up and you're still contemplating, where am I? Am I
Mhm.
on the fence? Do I speak out? Do I stay quiet? Especially when you're very conscious of how people see me, how. But if this is your belief system, why are you afraid to share it with others? Why are you afraid for people to think that you are pro-abortion or you are anti-abortion?
Mhm.
And the simple answer is really because of your conviction in that belief system. If I adamantly believe that it is possible to regulate my emotions, I'll probably
Mhm.
have that conversation with you and tell you, yeah. But if I don't have a belief system, or I'm not even convicted about it, or I don't even know why that's my belief system, I just heard that Anu's belief system is this, and I've copied it. So the
Yeah.
situation comes, and I'm not even able to act like it, to be that authentic.
Yeah.
Now, it's
Yeah. And
important.
you, you see, what you're saying about these belief systems, it ties a lot in the things that have been happening in the past few days. I've been reading some comments on social media because there is this really popular relationship coach, who who has been a relationship coach on social media that so many women swear by, and to their shock, they found out that this man has been cheating on his wife for 9 years, not with one woman, with multiple partners, and you could see the shock, the shock in so many of his followers. Like, they didn't take it well. So many of them were like really crushed. So it to tie into what you were saying earlier about, you don't social media, you could be influenced. I'll use my own words. You could be influenced by the social aspect of it, which could really completely, you could have a belief system that's influenced by the social aspect of life. You don't even realize that you're just going with the flow. It's not really something that you hold dear. Yeah, yeah. Which
At a situation like this case, imagine if there were people who built their beliefs, who had that belief system of fidelity, who believed in it, right, and they practice it because of this coach. He may have led you, he may have inspired you, but did you find within yourself why it's important to be fidel in a relationship, and did you commit to it because you felt that it will work for you? If that were not the case, right, a lot of people who did it because this guy did it will start cheating, and they'll lose it. Yeah, yeah,
and
and
I
that's
and I,
why
and I think it may
influencers,
happen because a lot of women were like, you know what, there's no hope. There's no hope. A lot of women were so
right?
disappointed by his actions, so disappointed that it completely shook their what they thought were their belief systems. So, before Acho Abongwa said something which I want to read. He says, "I beg to differ a little. In as much as a plan B is important, I've learned in life that the person with an objective and who is intentional about achieving it is an almost unstoppable force of nature."
Which is true. I agree with him. What we're trying to say is not stopping your optimism or your planning. It is it's actually building your confidence in your goal. Because I want to be a medical, okay, let's say I wanted to be a medical doctor, and in year 4 I had to repeat. Okay, when I'm starting school, I decide I'll read, I'll go to class, I'll buy my textbooks. I am empowered, I am positive, I'll get it, I'm like, I'll get this, that whole optimism spirit. Do you know what makes it stronger? What makes it stronger is if after all those things that you say, you add, if this doesn't work, I'll not break down. If I don't get to complete medical school in 7 years, I'll not break down. Um, I would find a plan B. I have the ability to adapt to that change and still meet the goal. It's a bit shaky when all you say is, I will do it. But I feel like, in my opinion, the foundation is stronger when you say, I will do it like this. But if it doesn't work this way, I'll still get it because I know that I have that ability and that capacity to adapt. You need to remind yourself that you have the capacity to still meet your goal if you don't meet it in the way that you've planned. Right? You just need to remind yourself that you have the ability to adapt. And I think that at the end of the day, it makes everything better. Reminding yourself that you have the ability to think. Don't even think of the plan B. Just remind yourself that you have the ability to master the actions and the emotions that will think of a different plan to still meet that goal.
And that is slightly different from being flexible to change, right?
Um, what would I say to that? It is. It is.
Yeah, I know it is
It
slightly.
It is. Because really, when you're planning, all of us, right? I want it to go the way I'm planning. I don't want anything out of the line. But then I always tell myself, I know that I have the ability, the emotional and physical ability to find something to still meet this goal if this plan does not work. That line I always add, because I feel like that reminder lets me know that, because if something happens, then I'm like, but I've always said I have the ability, to do a plan B. Yeah, yes, I always remind myself of that.
Acho was saying something. If plan B involves changing the objective, then it really isn't plan B. It is a different objective. Oh, well, he did come underneath and say, I fully agree with this now. I think after your explanation, um, don't you think that having a plan may be a hindrance to achieving your goals? That's from RENCAM Credit Union.
On the contrary, I think that having a plan is the way to achieving the goals. I want to go to my 17 and I'll leave from the house and I'll take a taxi and I'll go to my 17. That's so when I wake up every day, I have a goal. Instead, when there's no plan, you're tempted to go with the flow. Because if I met Anu today and I was like, Anu, I want to be a doctor, what do you think? She's like, go to Yaoundé, go to Q's Yaoundé. The next day I'm meeting somebody else and I'm like, what do you think? Next person is like, go to Bamenda. And the next day, especially if, again, you don't have a strong value system or you do not have a plan, right? You're likely to get distracted. The way we live, this everybody cares about us. Everybody wants to have an opinion on what you do, what job, who you marry, and things like that. And they mean well. But if you don't have your plan, life will make one for you, and it's very likely that it would be the outcome that Anu wanted for me, for example, or my mom, or my dad, or my friend. It will probably not be what I wanted for myself. So I think that, on the contrary, a plan is really what helps you meet that goal.
Yeah. And I think, and just to extrapolate on, you would only be able to make a plan if you know what you want for yourself. Because a lot of the times you would accept those other opinions if you do not know what you want for yourself. So you definitely not made that plan. If that, yeah. I'm going to read some comments. Nora Brown says, yes, I got a defined belief system, or I am not religious. I look at every situation and I analyze it based on logic. Um, did I read everyone else's? Andia says, I believe too in stoicism because to me, there are things you cannot change. So I find a way to deal with it and include positivity no matter how bad the situation is. You know, Andia.
No, no, I don't. But stress is involved. Yeah.
Okay. You're just happy someone uses choice like
Yes,
yourself.
yes, I do. And I
Okay.
was, I had to say, when I saw Nora Brown's comment about I have a belief system, and I'm not religious. Honestly, you have to credit somebody, you know, to have the courage to say something like that. Yes,
Yeah.
please. Yes. And usually when people say things like that, you have the impression that they are deeply rooted. They are assertive, because if you're saying something that will cause conflict, maybe your family member, your friends will get attacks, and you still have the courage to say it, then you probably have yourself figured out the why. Yeah. But if you're saying it because I heard Anu say it, I will not even have the courage to say it, because I will not even be able to take the attacks or even explanation. Somebody could come to you because they just want to understand, and I will not even know what to say, because I just copied from Anu, and it's not even something that is my authentic me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Um, sorry, I just want to read. Oh, Brigitte is asking me, which book can you recommend for us to know more about the science and art of choice?
Book on choice. I don't think I've personally not read any specific book about choice.
Yeah.
Let me I've what I'm reading currently that for me has influence again is a little bit on the stoicism side, is The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. That's what I'm currently reading. And
What? Can you repeat the title?
The Obstacle is the Way
Okay.
by Ryan Holiday.
Mm-hmm.
And there's choice spares in between, but more about reactive choices. I think that's even the book that got me grounded around reactive choices, realizing that deciding the outcome is one thing, but deciding how you respond to the outcome is a whole other, yes, way of making choices.
Mm-hmm. Vera says having a plan is good, but most importantly, your plan must be intentional.
Exactly, exactly.
Mm-hmm. So before you go, I want to talk about something that, okay, you're moving stuff about. It's quite loud. But before you go, something that absolutely admire in you is your poetry. You're such a talented poet. Um, do you want to talk to us a bit more about your journey into poetry? But before you tell me that, just hold that thought. Let me read what Tessie said. Tessie says, my view is that in all this is all about being realistic in our approach, being ambitious, or at least have aspirations and transform them to realization by staying focused and working hard towards those aspirations. Be pragmatic in every move you take and believe in yourself. Oh, you're muted, sorry.
So you see the themes keep repeating. Have a goal, have a plan, be intentional. Yes, yes, it keeps that's really it. A lot of people who have succeeded, a lot of the famous successes have used that formula, and I think that it works for us. And I'm glad that a lot of people have that
Yeah.
think that as well.
Oh, yeah, I'm really glad. I think we are really opening up, not I don't want to say our generation, but the Cameroonians. We are really opening up to learn a lot of new things that are not sorry to learn a lot of new things that could have been foreign to us, but we are really adapting to change and learning and taking on some really good practices and philosophies from which we I'm sure we probably had them, but they were not articulate like they were not expressed this articulately. So I'm glad that we are on that path. Glennise, you have a question on the courage, on the same subject of courage. What do you think about political correctness? Oh, you're muted.
Please define political correctness. That's a very please define it. Let's understand the context.
In which context? Actual Abongwa. In which context? While he's talking about that, let's talk about your poetry reading. If guys,
Yeah.
if you scroll up to the top of the comments, I have I have one of her poems in the comment section. It's the first three comments from Goretti Experience. That's one of Glenice's poems. She's such a beautiful poet, and you can follow her on Facebook and Instagram as Glennise Ayuk. She writes beautifully, and she's won. You've been featured, or did you win awards? Which one is it?
Both.
Both. Yeah, both. Go on, tell us about it.
I really feel shy when you talk about my writing or when anybody compliments me about it. I feel nice. It feels good. It's an art. It's a way of expression. And honestly, when you're expressing, it's really you sharing, and you're hoping that people receive it, they relate to it. They are inspired by it or something. So my journey to writing in general was a bit haphazard. My dad writes. Geez, my dad is the best writer I know, honestly. Like he's excellent. Yeah. But when I was growing up, especially when I had to decide, am I doing medical school or am I doing that? I was just like, no, 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 no. It's medical school. That decision was partially made for me. It's like it's medical school. And then I had at the back of my mind, okay, because I'm in med school, there's no way I can write. Somewhere around the fourth, fifth year, I'm like, let me try this thing. Let me try to do the two together. And I think that that's really where it took off. It was just a decision that I made. And I was like, okay, I'll write every week. And then you write. And then after that, how do I share it? You make that decision. And then, okay, you look it up. You could send your poetry in for publications. And then that's what I did. And then, one thing just led to another onto this space where I'm able to call myself right. I'm like, okay, all right, do it. Okay. Unmute.
Do you want to do us the honor of reading this poem you wrote, Butterflies? It's so
The
beautiful.
butterflies poem. Please, put it up because I cannot read it from my computer because there's power outage. Okay, let me say this poem, right? I was at the office and I was having a tiring day and I was looking for something inspiring, just something to relax. And then a butterfly came around and it's looking so beautiful. I'm like, wait, Papa, God, these butterflies, they don't even stress it. You just fly in. Yeah, that's really where this came from. That's where this poem came from. It should be a poem to oneself, but at the same time, it could be a poem to another person. But while I'm reading it, I want you to listen to this as me reading to you. So I'm using my voice, but this is you talking to yourself, right? Okay. So butterflies. I am drawn as I always have when I look at you. I smile kind of sheepishly when you meet my eyes. You were carved with intention and sculptured with delight. You were made with the finest of nature's materials. You are it, perfection. But do you even know you're a prize, the choicest, far more than I deserve? You should never try to change you, but do you even know you're nature's most exquisite, most perfect work of art?
Yes, I am. I
You don't be like, you are, I am, and we all are. And I hope that we remember that. You are the
you
one.
really are. Let me give you your accolades. Everyone, I hope you're giving her accolades. I read your poems. You know that I always every time every time that you release a poem, I'm always on your page. I go and read it, and I think your poem was one of the first things that I read from start. One long bit that you wrote, the first one I shared on my page. That's one of the first things I read from start to finish in a long time because that's how hooked I was, and how that's how much the words meant to me. You're such a beautiful writer, a gifted one. Please never stop writing. Vera has something to say. She says, Glenn is taking compliments and accepting them is an art in itself. Once you can capture that, there'll be loads more outpouring. So outpouring rather, so more grace.
Hello, the line broke. I didn't hear the last thing you said.
So no, I said you're a gifted writer, a really gifted writer. Please never stop writing. And then Vera says, Glennise, taking compliments, I think it's frozen again. Taking compliments and accepting them is an art in itself. Once you can capture that, there will be loads more outpouring, more grease. Did you hear that?
That's not an art I've mastered yet.
Don't worry, you will. This has been such a pleasure, honestly. I've enjoyed um I think we've all just been reminded about again those themes that kept repeating themselves, us being intentional about the choices that we make, no matter how insignificant they may feel at the time. It's just to be conscious and intentional about the choices that you make, because if you do not make the choices, someone else, life will make these choices for you, right? I think Glenn is frozen, so I'm just gonna keep her backstage, and then when she unfreezes, I'll bring her back. Oops, and I mean she's tried, right? For Cameroon, this is one of the few times where it's gone uninterrupted for so long. But I mean, guys, what did you think about this conversation? What's your take home from what we've talked about tonight? Just please share with me in the comments. I see Acho is with his clapping hands. Thank you. That means that Glennise has done amazing. But what to you is your take home from this conversation tonight? Is she there? It says device is not connected, Glennise, if you can hear me. We'll give her a minute. Hopefully she can join us back. And meanwhile, while she's trying to join us, guys, check us out. You know what I'm wearing, right? I only wear skylarglam.com. So this is one of our lipsticks. So if you haven't visited it already, please do. And Glennise is back. Hi, Glenn. Oh, dear. Can you hear me? Okay. Can you hear me? No. We can't hear you. I've just taken you backstage, but don't leave. Just stay. Steve is saying so many lessons learned from everyone. Decision is both an art and science. Lesson learned. Yes, it is. Tessie says it's worth mentioning that a plan is useful in some aspects in life, but cannot apply to our every move. Sometimes you just have to go with the flow, be flexible and as resilient as possible. It's been very interesting, guys. Good jobs. Thanks, mommy. Okay. Okay. Well, guys, I don't know. Due to Cameroon's internet, Glennise is having to leave us unceremoniously. But I am sure I speak for everyone when I say it was a really, it was a good conversation, and I think there's so many things that we were reminded of. So henceforth, before you go, I know it's going to build again slowly. I don't know why I didn't think about this in the beginning, but I'm going to be streaming from YouTube going forward, just because I'm trying to grow the YouTube channel. So if you can support the channel, it will help me. Acha Bongwa, Steve, you're not yet subscribed, so don't leave without subscribing to my YouTube channel. Going forward, the show every Wednesday would stream from YouTube, and we'll slowly rebuild it like that. This thing is a learning process, man. But thank you guys so much for always being there and supporting. I really do appreciate you. And if you liked it, all you can do now is just share the YouTube link. Let someone else watch it. Please share the YouTube link so someone else can watch this and we can grow this channel. Thanks for making the choice to be different in your discussions. Well done. Thank you, Vera. I always want to learn because I'm learning so much from these shows. You guys have no idea. Every topic that we talk about, I have to go and read on. And because I have to go and read on, I will make a perfect dinner guest. So please, from June 21st, my Briticos, if there is something, invite me, because don't worry, I won't bore your guests because I know so many things now. I can take part in a lot of the conversations. So please make sure you invite me post June 21st. I need to party. We all need to party, right? So invite me. But thank you. Don't leave without subscribing to our YouTube channel, please. Thank you so much for watching. I think Glennise has not been able to join. We're back next week, Wednesday, with our final guest, and then we'll take a hiatus because we'll take a hiatus, and then we'll be back in third week of April. We'll take a 1 week break. So I'll see you next week. I beg, share. It goes a long way, every single share. Thank you all for staying. God bless you. And I'm going to thank Glennise on your behalf, Dr. Glennise Ayuk, who joined, an MD from Boya. Thank you. Have a lovely evening. Bye. Everybody wants to find the perfect match for their financial needs. Secured savings, stress-free access to affordable loans, instant mobile money transfers to MTN and Orange Cameroon, and even a share in the profits as a member owner. For over 7 years, RENCAM Credit Union has been the perfect match for Cameroonians living in the UK and other nationals with interest in the Cameroonian heritage. Visit rencam.co.uk. Join RENCAM Credit Union today, achieving success together.